Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist-recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm Trev Downey. And this, of course, is Molby On The Spot, your weekly chance, thanks to Anfield Index Pro, to hear the wit and wisdom of your friend and mine, Mr. Jan Molby, as we look back over the week that was and look ahead to the week to come for Liverpool FC. Good evening, Jan.
Good evening, Trevor. How are you?
I'm very well. I wasn't quite as well as some people in the wake of the most recent result, which is obviously going to be our starting point. I'm looking forward to the week ahead. We've got a European game to talk about coming up in very, very quick time. For people listening to this, hopefully they'll get a chance to listen to the show before the game. And of course, the Premier League rolls on regardless. So I'm very, very anxious to get your take on what's been going on. We've had a few curveballs thrown at us today as well in terms of injuries and bad news in that regard. But let's start with the big story in town, which was, of course, the game we looked forward to the last day. And I do believe a certain Mr. Molby said it would be a score draw. So credit where it's due, my friend, credit where it's due. It was an odd game that left certain people feeling certain things. I came out of it, just so we have something to tee it off with, because I'd like to get your reaction, a little bit frustrated, I'll be honest with you, Jan. I thought I get all the rationales about it being a great result over there, etc., but I just felt as if we had a chance to take an advantage, and I was disappointed that we hadn't. In the greater scheme of things, if we go on to have a good season, people will say it's a good point. What was your immediate reaction, and has it changed as it sat with you over the week?
I totally agree with you. It was a great result. So I was at the game. Didn't really look at my phone till I got home about 5 o'clock, and I was slightly surprised that. And I'm talking about my friends. I'm not talking about social media. I'm talking about my friends. I'm slightly surprised at the overreaction to the result, because I was a bit left like you. But sometimes you do need to speak to other people to gauge where people are at. And I was a bit like driving home, not sure what I'd just seen. I heard one or two of the Liverpool players say we didn't feel we played particularly well. And had we played well, it was definitely one of those days anyway where you're going to beat City, because we didn't need to be anywhere near our best, I felt, to beat them. So I don't know. And then, so we're doing this podcast on the Wednesday. Then on a Tuesday night, Leipzig come to town, and they almost do a job on Manchester City as well. Don't score 2 goals or whatever. And I just think that it just feels right now. They're ripe, aren't they? They can't keep clean sheets. So I thought, I'm actually sitting here with Lee. Yeah, I'm missing 2 points. I'm thinking I'm missing 2 points. It was an opportunity. Fair enough, when you play City and they're at their best, you're almost at their mercy, Andy. But they weren't at their best, so I just have that feeling that we left 2 points in Manchester. Unnecessary, really. And I don't know, but it was just, I thought Mo was slightly off it again, wasn't he? And Szoboszlai didn't get into the game, and they're obviously I feel when we play the best, they're our best opportunity to win the game. I know we're all sort of in a weird way in love with Darwin Nunez, isn't it? But when you're talking about they've been more reliable than maybe him, and Mo Salah is very reliable, isn't it? We feel that Szoboszlai has probably been our best player this season, and those two weren't quite where they at it. So I don't know, Trevor, but I am more and more thinking, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester City are quite capable of turning this into a three-way fight for the title, which could be quite exciting, isn't it? So I don't know how to answer your question, Trevor. I don't know where I'm at with that game at all.
Oh, I think you very much have answered it with that run through, because I'm glad to know that I wasn't the only one who seemed to be having higher standards than the rest. I was deluged with people talking about, a great point, and going to City, and you have to remember it's City, and so on and so forth. And I think, like you, I was feeling, but that was not prime City. And we played very much within ourselves. That's what I want to focus on. You can never really allow for what the opposition's going to do anyway. And it felt to me like, and you identified two of the culprits as such in terms of underperformance. And listen, it feels a bit harsh to dig them out, having been saved by them on so many occasions this year, those two lads. But yeah, I think across the board, you could say it was quite underwhelming. The Darwin Nunez versus Haaland thing was always going to be the narrative, and the people who wanted to make hay out of that got every opportunity on the back of the incidents in the game. But just so we can have a little bit of a balanced chat about it, I agree with you. I think the reliability factor is absolutely going to be where we can finally say, I can take a deep breath and go, Nunez is our number 9. I know what we're going to get from him every week. But here's the thing, Jan, I feel like we are starting to get more of a picture of that, and I feel like it's increasingly beneficial to the team. It's not just the chaos. He does work intelligently. He does close down. He does make the right runs. Yes, that cutting edge in terms of regular, just dead-eyed reliability. But I don't know how great his chances were in the day either. So I'd be curious to know what you made of him and what you make of his evolution. It's always going to be too slow for some people. And then you have the super fans who are going to say he's just God's gift. Where are you landing on Nunez and his progress?
Well, we spoke about him a couple of weeks ago at length, where, we were trying to almost look into the future and trying to predict what was going to happen with Darwin Nunez, isn't it? And I just happen to think that he is just one of those, off the wall sort of characters who does his thing in it. But then in the last couple of weeks, we've seen things in his game that you think, whoa, that's almost coached, that, isn't it? It's almost as if, I'm not suggesting that they haven't worked with him previously. What I'm suggesting is that he might have seen the benefit of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to tell him, isn't it? So in terms of the game against Manchester City, I thought he was slightly unlucky with his header. I'm slightly unlucky, but I'm also a little bit disappointed that he doesn't get a shot when he gets the opportunity in about the 16th minute, isn't it? Where all he has to do, and it's a decision, isn't it? And compare that to Trent's goal, or even compare that to Haaland. Compare that to Haaland's 2 goals, the one against us and the one against Leipzig, where Darwin Nunez takes the pass for the outside of his right foot, when really he should have let it run through for the instep on the left, then to move it on to his right foot. Compare that to Haaland, who has 2 touches before he shoots against us. His second little touch sets it up for his shot, and exactly the same against Leipzig. When I saw the first goal, his goal against Leipzig, I thought he's put that into the net with the outside of his left foot, but he hasn't, because that second touch sets it up so he can do it with the iPad. And it's exactly the same with the pass. The pass for Trent for the goal is not a great pass, but his first take is a great take, isn't it? Sets it up for that. Not only sets it up for the shot, but it sets up for the quick shot before they can get themselves set, isn't it? So they're kind of still the things that we need to work on a little bit, isn't it? But I think the last couple of weeks, Trevor, there's been something else, where it's a bit more measured. It's a bit more, I think.
The world's got you feeling glazed over. Sprinkle some love all around. Just climb your way up out of that hole, and you'll be the taste of the town. Grab the one thing that everyone's loving, and as it happens, they come by the dozen. Everybody loves a donut, or a dozen from Dunkin'.
I don't think we were screaming off the rooftops that we wanted more of this from Darwin Nunez because he was still delivering big deals in it. But I think Klopp, it's more what Klopp needs from time to time, some control over what we're doing. Everything can't be off the cuff, isn't it? So I'm quite happy. He's going to end up somewhere 25, 30 goal involvement over the season, isn't it? I think that's okay.
Yeah, you get the feeling it's starting to take in some way, shape or form on a level that the manager is going to be happy with as well. And, you know, just as we're talking about control and an element of coaching and an element of predictability coming into what we get from him, we also have to address what was, for me, absolutely the highlight of the game. Because, you know, all else aside, I heard people talk about what a wonderful game it was. Now, I just felt, don't try to kid a kidder here. I mean, I've been watching football a long time. You have played football at the very highest level. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that there's every chance you'll agree with me that was not an enjoyable, purist game of football. I mean, there was some decent patches, but I didn't see what everyone was talking about. Oh, football at the highest level. Not for me at all. Again, maybe I'm wrong. What do I know? I'll get your take on that first. But afterwards then, Darwin versus Pep. Just fun.
Oh, yeah.
Something you like to see.
I was wondering where you were going, Joe. I was wondering where you were going, the highlights.
Yeah. So I had the best laugh. I was the most entertained I was in the entire match. I just liked the heart. And quite frankly, I'm not very well disposed towards Guardiola. I find him very prissy, unlikable, and as a result, anyone who's having a go, I think is fantastic. But I loved, Jan, the faces on Klopp, on Alexis McAllister, on Adrian, just indulgent smiles. You know, he's away again. Let's take him off. You remember having characters like that in your team. I think they're good for a side.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Did we ever get to the bottom of
what was said?
No. You know, whether it's something Darwin said or whether it was something that Pep said, and you know, and obviously often in these things, you know, one is trying to diffuse it, isn't it? And one is, you know, like pushing it right to the edges. So we never quite got to the bottom of that yet. But it's right. I mean, it was right in front of our commentary position, and you can't. Your eyes are just drawn to it, isn't it? You know, go let's see where this goes, isn't it? And I don't know. What was the biggest disappointment that people got in between? Was that the biggest disappointment? Somebody said, is that what we
exactly. Yeah. I think you know. But the whole thing was such a good show. It was just lovely to watch.
Yeah.
I thought particularly McAllister just flanked him, and he just had this smile going, "Oh fucking hell, here we go." And he just, you know, it's just a mate looking out for someone. It was never going to get too big. But I think that's what I was trying to drive at. I know that you played with larger than life characters. Everyone in that dressing room, including yourself, was a larger than life character in their own way. But there's always one or two who are just that far away from losing the plot. The fuse is short. And I think sometimes, teams get a little bit of not inspiration, but it's a bit of light relief, isn't it? Watching a fella, you know what he's going to do, and you just, it's a source of almost entertainment and it focus for the team. I know it sounds silly, Jan, but I think you know what I mean when you've got those kind of characters that you can rely on to create those moments to talk about and have a bit of fun about.
You get the ones who lose control,
yeah,
and then you get the ones who give the impression they're about to lose control.
Yes, that's it.
You know. So you got two types, haven't you? So we of course had those. If it was one of the guys who would lose control, who's in trouble, you needed to be there.
Yeah.
But if it was one of the actors, then you go fucking leave him to it. You know? But you always worry about the ones who are actually quite capable.
Yeah.
of going off on one. You know what I mean? So Darwin, I would think. That's why they hung around, wasn't it? You know, That's why they hung. I mean, Pep Linders made sure that he kept Pep Guardiola away, and that's why, because they kind of know that we don't know where this is going to end. You know, had that been one of the other boys, they'd have gone, I know where this is going to end. It's going to end with a high five or whatever. You know, so, and we can agree on that. It would have been more fun if they would have left him to it.
For sure.
You know, if you'd gone, okay, then, I mean, whatever's been said, whatever, sort it out between you, isn't it? And if you don't want to do it in broad daylight, go in a tunnel. We shouldn't encourage these things as a trouble, but no, it was a highlight, yeah. It was actually. I've forgotten all about it when you said in the highlight of the day. I'm thinking, what was the highlight? Well, that was the highlight, wasn't it? Yeah,
that was the best fun. It was the best fun. And, you know, as I was thinking about it, you mentioned the people, the actors versus, you know, the holding me back merchants.
Yeah. You've seen them, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
And they run a mile, then, don't they?
And then they run a mile. Yeah, exactly. But versus the guys who, and I'm wondering, see if I've called this right, in your dressing room at the height of that wonderful mid to late 80s team, I'm thinking the one man that you would need to restrain would be Grobbelaar. Grobbelaar always struck me as he had the potential for scariness. You know?
I mean, Trevor, we were scared of going anywhere near it.
Right.
You know, when Bruce lost it, and he lost it with a teammate once, Paul Walsh, you know, and there was about fucking 8 of us, you know.
Wow.
And we're all having a bit of a, you know, let's have a quick meeting here. Are we going to do this? Yeah, but, you know, we're all going to do this because I'm not going in. So we got about 8 of us together, you know, to try and diffuse the situation. But yeah, when Bruce loses it, which to be fair takes a lot. Yeah, because he doesn't have a sense of humour. But when he loses it, but normally Bruce would, of course, not everybody knows what Bruce is like. But if it was to do with the lads, you'd always get the finger, you know, hey, my boy, this is not funny. And you go, whoa, this is not funny. But yeah, Bruce was one of them. But then you'd also have the ones that you'd hold back and they'd be shouting behind you and going here, there, and everywhere. But people like Steve McMahon and whatever, they were feisty. You know, I mentioned before Paul Walsh. He was a feisty little character. You know, with Barry Venison, he was an angry. You know, he was an angry boy, isn't he? You know, I mean, you know, the people who want to, and then the people who don't want to. Who just want to have a bit of. You couldn't call it fun, isn't it? But it's part of the theatre, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely spot on with Bruce. Yeah, but you know, I was a big boy. You know what I mean? Even I was reluctant to get too close to Bruce when you think he's about to blow his fucking top. Whoa.
people don't. I think it. Yeah, that's a good line. I think if people haven't experienced someone like that, they don't understand quite what it can be. But yeah, some people are genuinely just naturally intimidating, and I always got that vibe off Bruce. But like you say, a gentleman, entirely a gentleman, unless we get to that zone. Just a couple of things just to round off the City chat, because let's accept that, you know, the league table could have gone a little bit worse than it did. Obviously, we had, like I say, we had that opportunity to push on. Arsenal took their opportunity to push on. Spurs didn't. Again, and I think it's probably a little bit harsh to start doing the whole Spursing it thing, but I think you're right when you say it's already kind of shaping up in an interesting way, because Aston Villa are on this great run at the moment, and it's going to be a cluster of teams who are going to be challenging for those 3rd and 4th positions. do you see a reality emerging where there could be a two-horse race between Liverpool and City based on the standard of football on display at the weekend? Or do you actually see this challenge from Arsenal lasting to make it a proper three-way to the end? I understand they may have a bit of legs in them, but do you think they have enough of what it takes for it to be sort of quite close to the end, at least between them and us, for rivals to City?
Yeah, I do actually. I mean, you still get the impression with Arsenal, and this is obviously compared them to last season, that there is more to come in terms of the way that they play. But it seems to have changed the way that they play. There's a lot more control, isn't it? But I'm just sitting here thinking that if Arsenal had what they had last year, plus Declan Rice, there would be a hell of a team in it. But it seems, obviously, they've got Declan Rice, who's playing ever so well, but the rest of them are not quite functioning yet. But still, they have a steel about them, Trevor, that will probably see them a long way. So if you ask me, I could see Liverpool, Arsenal, and Manchester City finishing within 5 or 6 points of each other. It probably wouldn't go into the mid-90s. It was more be something between 85 and 90 points. And I do think all three of them are capable of getting that. But then it doesn't take a lot to derail. And I think when you talk about derail, the only club you can rule out is Manchester City, yeah? Because we've been derailed. We were derailed by the Van Dijk injury. Then we were derailed by the season after we went for all the 4 trophies and whatever. And you look at other clubs that have been derailed by something. The only one you can rule out is probably Manchester City. So I wouldn't rule out that something could happen to Liverpool or Arsenal that would derail their season. But as it stands now, that would be my 3. And then you talk beyond, and you mentioned Aston Villa, which it's a funny cat, that, isn't it, Aston Villa? Because we've seen them played off the park at Anfield, seen them go to St James's Park. They went to Nottingham Forest, got wiped out. But they've obviously been very, very strong at home. I don't know what to make of them. Spurs, I think it's unfair to say they're doing a Spurs because they got a lot of injuries, and now Bentancur is out injured as well. So I think they've been unlucky. But I also said we always felt that they needed reinforcement. Chelsea, after 2 good performances and 2 good results, beating Spurs and drawing Manchester City, they got a bit of a rude awakening. But I think that's more at the level they're at. I'm not convinced that they've turned the corner, although they've got some very good players. The interesting bit, Trevor, is Manchester United. I was at Goodison on Sunday when they beat Everton 3-0. First half, very even, probably slightly shaded by Everton, although United led 1-0. But in the second half, they played well, United. And they're in Turkey while we're doing this, I think, running out comfortable winners as well, I think, against Galatasaray. I just look at the way that they played in the second half. I look at some of the players coming back from injury. I think they're hitting a bit of form, Trevor. I think they're hitting a bit of form, and when they hit a bit of form, they do have some really good players, so they're entitled to hit a bit of form, aren't they? So I'm a little bit worried about Manchester United. And then, of course, the ones I left out is Newcastle. I looked at Newcastle's next 11 games. It's horrendous. The fixture list they've got coming up, add 10 injuries to that, that might just derail them. I don't know. But the one right at this moment in time, Trevor, United won't get anywhere near City, Arsenal, Liverpool. I can't have it. But they might just slowly be favourites for that 4th spot again, which is about where they finished last year, isn't it? So, yeah, I can see things coming together for Manchester United. Absolutely.
When they build up, the last thing on Liverpool City, or related to Liverpool City, when the build-up was going on and we were talking about it and everybody was doing their own shows, and the conversation topic that was very much in the mouths of most pundits and analysts were, well, Chelsea have given Liverpool a blueprint for how to do it. In fact, unless I'm mistaken, I think Kloppo himself mentioned the Chelsea game and the fact that they got at them. And it seemed to be very much, well, it's almost self-evident that that's what we have to do. And you look at the stats of the game, and it's very, very interesting. it was a little bit deflating. We managed 8 shots in the game. We managed 3 shots on target. We obviously were always going to struggle for possession, but we had 40% of the ball. And in those situations, you would like to see us convert those moments of counter-attack or whatever into something really, really solid. And, you know, our shooting accuracy was pretty awful. I thought our set pieces were abysmal. It didn't feel like we actually had a plan, and the plan certainly wasn't for us to be front foot and go at them in the way that Chelsea did. So I wonder if you could see something that perhaps a lesser viewer of the game like me didn't, in terms of what it was we were trying to do, because the only thing I could see was that we were doing the classic absorb and then try to hit in the counter, but we didn't do that very well. In fact, one of the few spontaneous moments we had that everything came together was the goal, and that scored by a guy given man of the match by Gary Neville, who I thought had a very mixed afternoon. So very strange performance, and I was wondering if you could tell me what you thought the plan was.
So you talk about man of the match. I probably thought that Joel Matip might have been our best player on the day. I was surprised when he was 10. I think our plan was to be Liverpool. You know, there's no doubt that the club has had enough encounters against Pep Guardiola to know how to play them, and I think the plan was to be Liverpool. But I think uncertainty might have crept in to our play, and by that I mean, Tsimikas ever been part of us playing against City in a chop game. It's a new experience for McAllister. Dominic Szoboszlai, the last time he was at City, they got beat by 7 when he was with Leipzig. You know, it's a new experience to be part of this for Darwin Nunez. It's a relatively new experience for Jota to be part of that as well, isn't it? Because when we were at our best against City, you know who the front three were. It was Firmino and Mane and Salah. And so the only thing I can put it down to, Trevor, is that as much as we wanted to be Liverpool, there was a certain amount of doubt for them players, and they're thinking, we've never done this. You know, we've never gone toe-to-toe with City. And what happens if City turn up? What happens if City are at their absolute best? And I think that affected the game. But I also think City didn't quite know what to expect from Liverpool. You know, I think when it was the midfield of Henderson and Fabinho and Van Allen, they knew what we would bring. But all of a sudden, we got a different number 6. We got Szoboszlai, who they probably couldn't remember playing against him when he was at Leipzig because they ran out so convincingly winners. So I also think that City are looking and thinking,
hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own Two-Footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin De Vries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sponsored by Gilead.
Last night was fun, but honestly, we should have used protection. I learned about an HIV prevention option called PrEP, or pre-exposure prophylaxis, and it means routinely taking prescription medicine before you're exposed to HIV to help reduce your chances of getting it. PrEP is about 99% effective when taken as prescribed. It just doesn't protect against other STIs, so we'll need to remember to use condoms and other healthy sex practices. You should look into it. Visit findoutaboutprep.com. You can also talk to your healthcare provider to learn more about PrEP and all your HIV prevention options.
Where is this threat coming from? You know, what is it that Liverpool have got? You know, so I think both teams were sort of in between, and I felt that was the game we got in the end. We got a sort of in between game that some people thought was marvellous, but people like me and you, Trevor, have seen it all. And you compare this game the other day to the last, let's just say, 12 encounters we've had with City in the Premier League. I would suggest that it comes bottom, or in terms of the expectations and in terms of the energy. I know the 12:30 kickoff time is not ideal, but in terms of the energy, in terms of the intensity, and also in terms of sitting at the edge of your seat, isn't it? There wasn't a lot of that either. In a way, it was almost too comfortable, wasn't it, for the Liverpool-Manchester City game? And I said it during commentary. Obviously the biggest thing here for both teams is that City can't get the second goal to decide to get the game won. And because we're only 1-0 down, I can't see us playing a game without scoring. No, and that's exactly how it turned out in the end. This is so a bizarre and a strange game. But I think it's a game where people are kind of allowed to make up their own mind. And what do you think? I mean, one of my mates in capital letters went, that is a title winning away performance. And, he's Welsh, to be fair, so I don't know whether we need to speak him or not. But
Listen, that's the best part of it, is that again, it was amongst my own pals that we were having this sort of very different view of what we'd seen. I think it's great. It may be down to how long you are in the tooth, how grey you are in the beard. It may be as simple as that. There were younger men I was speaking to, so perhaps that's what it was. And arising out of the game, Jan, alas, there was a couple of bad bits of news. Obviously, we had Ali looking like he was a bit crocked on the day. We had Jota, who had to leave the field. Now, the update from Jurgen today is that Jota's injury will be long-term. Now, that's not the phrase he used. What he said was that Alisson's going to be, a while, and Jota will be a bit longer. Jurgen scares the living crap out of me every time he speaks about injuries, because it feels like you need to take what Jurgen says and magnify it, because if you recall, the Thiago injury was a minor thing. 6.5 months later, is Thiago even? It's
just a long-term minor thing, Trevor.
Long-term minor thing. So I mean, it just, it's not. It doesn't bode well for when he's saying that Jota's going to be out for a while. And obviously, we can carry a Jota injury with the wealth of attacking talent that we have at our disposal. We're very lucky in that regard at the moment. The squad is very, very healthy in that regard. What the squad cannot do is lose out on a guy who is the best at what he does in the world. Because the drop-off to the next level in Caoimhín Kelleher is considerable, as it would be with almost any other goalkeeper. People are way too quick to get on Kelleher's back for not being Alisson. But it does have a very, very real impact on us, Jan, if it goes on for a long while, because we take it for granted now, the amount of amazing saves that this guy makes, the fact that he keeps us in games when they're tight. It's impossible to overstate how important he is. And it does feel like a real worry now for this next little sequence. Have you heard anything a little bit maybe more insider about how long this is? Because the reports are a bit weird. I think Man United was the target that I was hearing lately.
So I think a lot of people might have missed it during the game. Alisson getting injured late on because he sat down and you could see he was holding the back of his leg. But then obviously, because we made the 5 substitutions, he played on for the last couple of minutes. And then once the game ended and the cameras had gone away with him, we were still in the stadium, and then he sat down on the pitch, and then the medical staff came out. And so you obviously sense it's a hamstring injury. And it's strange, isn't it, Trevor, because this is on the back of maybe the worst game he's ever had for Liverpool.
Yeah.
That we're still potentially talking about what a loss he's going to be, isn't it? But he is going to be a massive loss. So I've heard nothing. I've spoken to nobody about it. But realistically, Manchester United is more on the 17th or 16th, 17th or whatever. That's about right in 3 weeks. I think for the hamstring, that would feel about right. And it's no good saying either he's only a goalkeeper, you know what I mean? Because you can't be a goalkeeper either if you've got a torn hamstring, or, it's just impossible, isn't it? So 3 weeks feels about right, which obviously give Kelleher an opportunity to play quite a few games, get Will this will be his best run, won't it? Because I think last time Ali was out, it was Christ, Adriano got the run. I think.
It was.
So, yeah. So this will be Keller's longest run ever. So good luck to him.
Yeah, I mean, I think Creeving's got 25 odd games or something like that. This is going to really, really bump up his overall total. And I mean, that's a hell of a run. So LASK tomorrow night, then Fulham at home. He gets to play against Sheffield United away. He gets Crystal Palace away. The last game, the one that we'll no doubt go into needing something to top the group, against Union away. And then theoretically, Alisson may be in contention for the United game on the 17th at Anfield. But again, that's the optimistic take on it. As you say, that's usually the run of it for a hamstring, and hopefully it's not too bad of a one. The games perhaps that we're talking about, though, this is going to bite me in the ass probably, but if you were to handpick them, 2 Europa League games where, you know, he has cup experience, Fulham, Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. I suppose, Jan, if you were to pick a run that you had to do without Ali for, perhaps it's not the worst of them.
No, it looks pretty doable, doesn't it? You know, especially the fact that we're in reasonably good shape all around us. And so I would never use the phrase we'll get away with it, because I think Keller is more than good enough to stand on his own 2 legs and be a Premier League goalkeeper, isn't it? But it is a nice selection of games. I can see the European game against LASK being a little bit one-sided, and I think Fulham has got every chance of being the same. Sheffield United on Wednesday night is always it's a bit of a Luton thing, isn't it? You know, it's people expect us to go there and roll them over 3-4-0, isn't it? I think Bramall Lane is going to be an awkward game, you know. And of course, the challenge he will face there is how they would want to create chances, which would mean an awful lot of crosses and 6 men in the little 6-yard box for corners and whatever, isn't it? And it's a sort of a whole new ball game for him, isn't it? So if anything, that might just be the one where you sink or swim.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to give anyone the impression I'm anything other than very, very high on Kelleher as a keeper. It just, people saw that he was not godlike like Alisson on a couple of occasions, and it you know, I in the couple of games where he has stepped in recently, I was thinking, Jesus, Ali saves that's going through your head, and it's probably a really, really unfair comparison. I hope he gets to make the most of this run, and it starts tomorrow night, Jan, against LASK in the Europa. We're top of the group on 9 points after the last very disappointing outing, with Toulouse in second on 7 points, Union on 4 and LASK on 3. But LASK are very much aware that if they are to have any legs in this competition, they got to get a result tomorrow night. So they're going to be as highly motivated as is humanly possible. They won, I think, one of the games to date and lost 3, the opposite results to us, basically. And I'm wondering what you think about our chances here in terms of Kloppo made some comments. Again, I didn't see the full thing, I apologise, about having to prioritise certain competitions. Some of them are more important than others, was the gist of what he was saying. We have this game at the weekend against Fulham, which we're going to obviously go on and talk about in a few minutes. But this European game, it feels big to me, Jan, because I think we need to not just qualify, but we need to top that group and give ourselves the freedom to not have to be in that silly extra round. And that puts a bit of pressure on it. So I'm wondering, does he go strong? And if so, what does that mean? I mean, what's your gut feeling for what we look like tomorrow night going out?
So obviously, first and foremost, the difference between the 2 clubs is that it's a game we need to manage.
Yeah,
it's pretty straightforward for LASK. they come with everything they've got. This is their Champions League, isn't it? I mean, I landed at Manchester Airport this morning with 300 of them.
Did you?
They came in at the same time, and we get to immigration and think, bloody hell, this is busy. And then you obviously listen to them speaking, and I realised that none of them wearing club colours, but you realise, and I had a little chat to a couple of them, really nice in that. So they were obviously looking forward to the game. They were looking forward to the whole experience of going to Anfield. Isn't it? It was quite a big deal for them, mister. So I think we'll be relatively strong again, because we don't want to add another game on the 14th of December as a must almost win game to go with United at home, Arsenal at home, and West Ham at home in the Carabao Cup, which is also a must win, really, isn't it? Because you'd love to be in a two-legged semi-final. Wembley just round the corner, and so we don't want to add another one. So I think we'll be strong again. I don't know which one it was. So we spoke about one of the European games, and then the next thing you saw the lineup, we were really strong. So I've got a feeling that Klopp has come to grips with probably the two most important months of a season, November, December, isn't it? You know, there's so many games, there's so many important games in it, and he's almost come to terms with how do we best attack these months, isn't it? You know what I mean? So they'll have a plan. I think we'll go strong, and I think we'll beat them.
Yeah, I really hope you're right. I'm listening to you talk there, and I'm reminded of the fact that not only did I have to cough up tickets for United, but I also had to cough up my tickets for West Ham in the Cup. Both of them killing me to miss those, because I was all set to go, but family is family. It's not working out for me at the moment. There are so many big nights immediately on the horizon, and I don't mean to diminish the games that are between those games that we're talking about around the Christmas period and these ones that are upcoming starting tomorrow night. We will really have to win this game. Like you say, it's a must win. The winning of the group is a must for us as well, I think. So, yeah, there's going to be a bit of pressure on. I fancy this to be quite an exciting night tomorrow night, Jan. I think there's a lot on it, as you say. One team with nothing to lose, one team with everything to lose. It's going to be a very, very interesting one. What's probably a little bit more predictable is the weekend outing against Fulham. And again, just like we usually do, give people a bit of an idea of how Fulham are going. Well, I suppose first thing we could do is look at the table, and that might tell some people something. They are in 14th place on 15 points. And by the way, I hope I didn't seem dismissive of Aston Villa earlier on, who are level on points with Liverpool. It's a hell of an achievement. If we're having a great season, then they're having a great season, just by the by. But yeah, Fulham on 14th spot with 15 points. Level on points with Crystal Palace, Wolves, and a point behind Brentford, who are in 11th. So you get a feel, and Chelsea, who are in 10th. So you get a feel for how close things really are in the league. It's not, there aren't these vast gaps at all. So to give people an idea how Fulham have gone recently, you'll of course know this as usual, Jan. Last time out, they had a 3-2 win over Wolves. Previous to that, it was a 3-1 reversal at Villa, where they lost out. They also lost previous to that against Man United at Creighton College. They had a away win in the EFL against Ipswich before that. And the previous two Premier League games were a 1-1 draw with Brighton and a 2-0 reversal to Tottenham. So it's not exactly a stunning run of form of late. But again, so people have some idea of what Fulham bring to the table. We'll just have a look at the most recent team that went out and had that 3-2 victory over Wolves. Some of the names will be familiar to some people, just to give them a feel. They started with Leno and goals, a player that Liverpool were linked to back in the day. I remember in 2013-14, writing an article where Leno was being linked to Liverpool. Bassi and Ream were the centre halves with Robinson and Castagne either side. You've got Reed and Kearney in the middle, Iwobi and Willian on the flanks, Pereira behind Jimenez. It's not a bad old team. And To be fair, on their bench as well, they have some names that people will be familiar with. Harry Wilson, Sasha Lukic came on the last time. Carlos Vinicius came on the last time. They've also got Kenny Tete there. People will know Bobby De Cordova-Reid. They might know Luke Harris. And Tosin Adebayo came on as well. Not exactly a bad squad, Jan, and will possess a real threat. We need to be wary of them. I think a lot of people really rate Marco Silva as well. Be interested to hear what your take on Fulham is and what they offer.
I'm not impressed by Fulham. Obviously, it wasn't by their doing that they were forced to sell Mitrovic in the summer, but they're really missing his goals. You mentioned that the boy who played up front in the last one, Raul Jimenez, that they bought from Wolverhampton. He's forgotten how to score goals. It's as simple as that. I mean, he had that terrible head injury and he's never been the same ever since. I've seen Fulham live once against Manchester United. I thought they were dreadful. But so were Manchester United, to be fair, and he scored a 92nd minute winner. But I watched the game on Monday against Wolves, and it was highly controversial. They scored 2 penalties, and you could most definitely question both of those. I just think I agree with Marco Silva. Marco Silva's finally found a club where he's showing what he's capable of. I mean, he did ever so well at Hull, but then ever since it's been a bit Watford and Everton and what he's struggling with. But he's found a team, but he needed that win, I think, on Monday, just to give him a bit of confidence because they found it difficult. To me, they're a sort of in-between nothing team. You mentioned all these. Bernd Leno is an okay goalkeeper. Centre half, Ream is getting on a bit. Bassi, they just took back from Ajax. He originally at Glasgow, at Rangers. He's okay, and no more than that. But the one man who was missing on Monday is their star player, the Portuguese midfielder Palhinha. He, to be fair, he is the one where you go, he's above the level. He's a really good player, but I'm not a big fan of Fulham. I just, I find it even easier to talk about Luton.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Because I can tell you what Luton have got. This is how Luton want to play. This is their team's personality. And Fulham is a bit, what is it? So one week it's Harry Wilson plays, and then Willian, and then Grobbelaar, and everything is a bit, and then he's got 3 strikers to choose between. None of them who can hit a barn door, you know what I mean? So it's all a bit aggressive press, not really, high line, not really. So they appear to be a very flexible team, but I don't think that's by choice. I just think that they struggle to impose themselves on games. So they play the game that the opposition allowed them. So I would be amazed. I'd be amazed if they get anywhere near us, Trevor. I'd be amazed.
Well, we shall see the proof of that pudding in your prediction at the end of the show. But we have just a few minutes left. And when this happens, it's a real treat because we get to have a look at things outside of Liverpool. And you mentioned earlier on, you thought maybe perhaps United might be on potentially at the start of a little bit of a tear, and quite rightly pointed out the talent that lies in that squad, for all that we might maybe have a little bit of a laugh at some of the underperformers. This ownership thing, Jan, though, is going to cause, I would imagine, some difficulty, if in no other area than in the January recruitment, for sure. You would imagine it's going to have an impact there. What are you hearing about how close this is to getting done? Because surely, am I the only one who heard about 6 or 7 different deadlines by which it was supposed to be done, including, I think the most recent one was Thanksgiving?
So obviously, there's things they can't agree on. This has now gone beyond a year. You know, it's over a year since they put the club up for sale. We were never quite sure what that meant. Did that mean that they want to sell the whole club or whatever? So in the end, they decided that the best option was to get Sir Jim Ratcliffe in. The deadline, 100%, was the international break, which obviously we've assumed on the 25th of November. It was meant to be done before that. It wasn't done. Spoke to somebody from Manchester Evening News who says that the lawyers are desperately trying to work out certain things. And I said it when we spoke about it last time or the time before. Sure, Jim Ratcliffe isn't just going to come in there and give him 1.3 billion for the owners to do whatever they want to do with it, and then invest another 245 million as a starter without having a real handle on this, you know. So I think that's a big thing, isn't it? I mean, the Glazer siblings, there's loads of them, isn't there? But there's a couple of them who are really keen to keep hold of this Manchester United thing, isn't it? I think the majority of them would happy see it, you know, let's cash in. You know, it's like being in a casino in Vegas, isn't it? You've got loads of chips, let's cash in. Because that's basically what it's like, isn't it? They won the jackpot, there's no doubt about that, isn't it? But I think there's a couple of the siblings who are really keen to, no, we want to keep hold of this. You know, it's quite a prestigious thing, isn't it, to own an elite sport club in it. So I think, yet again, Trevor, as much as they might be improving on the pitch, we still have comedy in the boardroom, isn't it? That they can't decide on what they want. And I think it's been like that from the moment they put the club up for sale. So, okay, so we put the club up for sale, maybe to appease some of the siblings. But what is it we want to achieve with it? You know, is it a full sale? At what price? So, yet again, it's a mess. So, no, I just keep coming back to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He would be the one here going, I'm not happy about this situation. This is not what I want, you know, for this type of outlay, financial outlay. And it's going to be more beyond. There's going to be further investment required, isn't it? I just think he's the one who's going, I can't accept these terms. I cannot accept these terms. He has all sorts of plans and he has all sorts of people in place. And obviously he has ideas. Whether it works, I don't know, but he has a plan. And I appreciate that. The least you can have is a plan in it, Trevor. He has a plan. The Glazers, they never have a plan. You know, they just go from day to day, don't they? You know, so yeah, yet again, bizarre. And if anything, funny, hilarious. I know it's not a big, so a lot of people say it's not a big deal. It's because they kind of go, oh, whatever. But once you start looking into it, it is comedy, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like, you're fucking selling the club, or you're not selling the club, you're getting this guy in, he's not coming in, you know what I mean? And nobody knows where they're standing. Eric Ten Hag was under pressure, now he's not under pressure. January's a big month, you know? January's a big month, you know? You can do all sorts, isn't it? If Ratcliffe is not through the doors, what will happen then? I don't know.
As you were talking, I had a flashback. I know you're going to remember this. Do you recall one time when United was up for sale many moons ago, and a fella called Michael Knighton landed his helicopter on the pitch on Old Trafford? I think he turned out to be a spoofer.
No, do you know what happened, Trevor? His backers let him down.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah. The financial backing he had, and I think the purchase price was something like 22 million. I might be wrong, but it was around that figure. And they let him down last minute. So yes, he was a bit of a, and he was on the pitch, wasn't he?
Yeah.
If you remember, he ran down the Stretford end and scored a goal. He didn't get Manchester United because his financial backer let him down. We ended up buying Carlisle United, and he was at Carlisle United for a number of years as an owner, where he even put himself on the bench in a reserve team game. So you almost get him. I'm going to buy a football club so I can get a game of football. You know what I mean?
Speaking of comedy, I mean, yes, that's remarkable. The other team that will keep us entertained, no doubt, with their shenanigans with the transfer window approaching is Chelsea. And it's interesting because if you look at the makeup of player that you would have thought Pochettino might have his eyes on, I don't think defensive holding midfielder types are exactly in short supply knocking around at Stamford Bridge. We certainly have had our eyes on two of them that they got, not to mention the ones they already had. And yet they're being linked with this kid Moscardo from South America, which is weird, but not really when you consider that Todd Boehly is probably going to Todd Boehly at the end of the day, and there'll be money splashed around. I had this thing in my head that perhaps now they've got this, genuinely manager of repute that perhaps he would have a say. I don't know. It feels a bit odd, Jan, that the rumour mill is starting already, and it feels as if we're going back into Todd's season where he just starts flashing the cash book around, the checkbook around. I mean, do you have a feel for that? Do you know anyone in the Chelsea setup, or what is the talk about whether or not they're likely to do big business again?
So I have to start off by saying I think you're a bit harsh, Trevor, because Chelsea haven't signed anyone for 3 months. So, it's withdrawal syndrome, isn't it? You can imagine Todd, can't you? Who the fuck decided this transfer window? You know what I mean? I've got loads of money I want to spend. The people at Chelsea are struggling a little bit because nobody knows Todd. It's not as if there's been anyone who's built up any relationship with Todd. And here, obviously, I'm talking about the people who go on a regular basis. And although I have a very good authority that whoever's the manager has no say. This is basically the owner's show. And you mentioned number 6, defensive midfield. I don't think that matters to Todd Boehly. As long as they're footballers and they're young and they're well regarded, he'll sign them. And if that ends up with 8 in the same position, so what? I'm buying you the best that's available, isn't it? So yeah, don't be surprised. I mean, I have heard that they're going to work on a 1 in, 1 out basis. And of course, they would have to at some stage, they can't keep bringing in. But 1 in, 1 out shouldn't be too difficult either, because they still got an awful lot of players, haven't they? So, but the thing with it is, you would have no idea where they'd end up, would you? You'd have no idea where they're going to end up.
No.
They could be easy linked with 100 people and then sign 5 that they haven't even been linked with just because somebody told Todd. I mean, to be fair, I had a chairman a bit like that when I was at home. I'd come back from training and go, do you know so-and-so? And half the players I didn't know. And I'd go, no, I don't know him. But he was sitting upstairs in his office speaking to agents from mainland Europe. And I'm thinking, well, fucking whole city. Let's look at Boston or Lincoln or sign somebody from Tranmere, You're talking about 2nd division in France, and then he's coming back and he's going, and I go, no, I don't know him, no. And it was as if he's going, what do you mean you don't fucking know? But I don't, I'm not an expert of 2nd division in France or, Luxembourg fucking Premier League. It was like ridiculous. He was an agent's dream. And I guess Todd is the same.
Todd is the same. And actually, a wonderful story that links the two clubs that we were just talking about together in a kind of comedy vein is, guess who United are being linked with? Timo Werner. Remarkable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, round and round we go. Yeah, so there you go. It's just...
But to be fair, if there's a football club that can make horrendous signings, it's Manchester United.
Yeah.
It's horrendous, Trevor. How can you have most expensive sign they've ever made, Lukaku, semi-disaster. Second most, Paul Pogba, disaster. Third most expensive, this Anthony that they took from disaster. We're talking about 190, 85 million for these players, and they've been no good. I mean, whoever's brought them in, surely to God, there's only one door for them, isn't it? How you done, lads? Trevor, you give me 85 million to sign a player for Jurgen Klopp, I'll fucking get that bang on. And so will you. I'll give you 85 and you'll get a bang on. You ask me to coach him or nothing, or, just make sure we pick an 85-year-old, an £85 million player who can actually play.
Yeah. I know at least one 85-year-old who'd be better than Anthony.
Yeah, exactly. Better than Anthony.
So we should wrap it up. I want to just finish as usual by getting your take on how you think, you've pretty much given us your idea anyway, the two games, first LASK and then Fulham will go.
Yeah, Thursday night. I want Thursday night to be a bit of rock and roll, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like I guess yet again there'll be a lot of fans who don't normally get access to Anfield, and I want it to be an experience for them, isn't it? You know what I mean? Free flow and plenty of goals and whatever. LASK will no. Do you know what, Trevor? I think we'll beat them 4-0.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just think that the longer the game goes, they're going to get tired, aren't they? They're not going to be able to live with it. And Sunday, I'm going for the same scoreline.
Wow.
I think we've got every chance to run all over Fulham. As I said, you look at clubs and you go, I'm not having them, and I'm not having Fulham, and that's not in it. I don't want to be horrible or nothing. I'm just not having them I just don't get it. And I think they've done remarkably well, having 15 points already. I haven't really looked into how they got the 15 points other than the results and but maybe they've been a bit lucky in some of them games in it, because to me they just don't look like a team that's capable of getting 15 points after 13 games. So maybe they have slightly overachieved this. And so let's go for two straightforward 4-0 wins, Trevor.
Well, that is music to everyone's ears. And I'll tell you what, if you are running the rule over a team like that, I'll take that opinion and run with it every single day of the week. It's very interesting to hear, as has everything else that you've said on the show been. We've, as usual, covered a mass of topics. So for that, as ever, thanks very much, man. Yeah, enjoyed it, Trevor. On and upwards, an important period with some very, very winnable games. Let's get it done. Let's get it done is right. You heard the man. If you're listening, Reds, and if you're listening to us, then you are very, very wise people indeed, listeners to Anfield Index Pro. If you enjoy our show, and I know you do, why don't you tell someone else about it? Spread the word. Let's get this man's wisdom into as many ears as possible. We will be back with you next week to talk about two games and look ahead to two more. It's that time of the year, folks. They are coming thick and fast. As Jan said, they look winnable, but the job has to get done. So we'll be here to talk to you through that process. From myself, Trev, Downey, and from the main man, Jan Molby. This is Molby on the Spot for Anfield Index Pro. We'll see you soon.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.